This episode is brought to you by Patreon. Thanks, Susan, for being number 1. I haven't even told anybody. Welcome back in to Elysian State. This is episode number 2. It does actually feel good to be doing this. I know. I've been missing for a little bit, and, I'm back. Never really left, but, I just hung out. Anyway, hopefully you're enjoying your day, whatever time it is out there in the big global world in which we have. Which global and world are those actually? The globe that has different time zones. Happy time zone. I am currently drinking iced coffee. It is silly hot here. It is already in the 80s for the Fahrenheit people. It is approximately 20, actually no, it's almost, doing a little bit of math, it's about 25 Celsius. It's not even 9 o'clock in the morning. Yep, today we're gonna break a record. I don't know if it's good to break records like that, but we're breaking a record for heat. Congratulations, go us. Anyway, with a quick programming note before we start talking about what's on the screen here. The July 4th episode is going to move to July 6th. Not why you think, because I'm gone on July 4th. No. It's because I'm stuck in a trial with Epidemic Sounds, and the trial ends on the 5th. I don't want to get those pesky copyright notices, and I spent way too much time finding music and then realized I couldn't attach YouTube to Epidemic Sounds until after the trial is done. Anyway, I'm releasing this knowing that something's going to happen. I released episode 1 knowing that something's going to happen. It's no big deal. We'll get through it, but that's why it's delayed. Anyway, today we're putting the cart before the horse. We're building a harbor and the water stuff because, well, you need water and you need power. And I felt stuck not having this harbor kind of carved out because I didn't know how big I really needed it. And then it's like, well, I'm going to need power and I'm going to need water, and then it's the stuff that you put up with the game. I could ignore all this stuff, but I do want it to function. A little bit. I am playing sandbox. I am plopping buildings down. I'm not really zoning anything. I'm taking advantage of some tools in Move It and in procedural objects to speed up the process, but ultimately I do want the water to work. I do want shipping to work. I do want trains to work. I do want the power to work. And you need garbage too, and all that stuff. Kind of like my ADHD self, I am bouncing all over the place trying to figure out how best to do this. The video kind of is cohesive. I measured how big I needed this space, and then now I'm putting in this key wall, and then I fill out the harbor with the key wall, and then I jump into the power. I think this is before I realized I needed water, even though I just showed water, but pretend it's not there. We'll just pretend. And by the way, we're gonna have a quick tip coming up dealing with Surface Painter, why in particular with which axes I am building things along, because it helps your Surface Painter, and I'll demonstrate that here in about a minute or two. But I wanted to measure. Again, this goes back to the airport DLC. I want the airport kind of here. I figured it's best to put the airport here next to the harbor. The harbor's already very loud. The harbor's already getting shipments in and sending shipments out. So with the airport coupling the air cargo and the harbor, I figure this section here will take the brunt of the traffic. And so I felt like I had to plan how this would all actually work in terms of moving a rail line into here. And then, yeah, you know, you get the idea. You understand. You're playing this game. And if you're not playing this game, what are you waiting for? It's one of the best games out there for anybody who likes to build stuff. And you saw me draw that road kind of randomly, and I picked a completely different road. That is this. And here's a quick tip. Before you start doing anything to your city, whether you're a sandbox builder or just love the detail, you want to find the axis. Now, as I built this city, because I know the pain it is to do this, I saved myself this little spot way over here. I'm gonna draw this little road, and we're gonna go like so. I'm using Find Road Tools. Whoops. That's still elevated, which is fine. Everything's fine. The point is you find your axis, because I'm just gonna go 20. This axis is important. Axes. I'm gonna axe this tree down, chop this tree. Axes. I guess it's axes. But if you're using any texture with a pattern, or you want to use, what is it, Surface Painter mod? Watch this. Normally, you're like, it doesn't cover everything. Guess what? If you find the axes the game has, you can make very smooth surface painter. Now granted, you got to deal with the stuff around here, but that's, you know, that's for another day. But if you're using a texture with a pattern, just like this one, I guess all textures have a pattern, but this has the concrete seams. You can find, and look at this. It's clean on both sides. Maybe a little too far in this one, but hey. The point is, this looks much better than if all of your patterns were like this. Let me turn this stuff on. Like, sure, this is like new agey, like we're gonna be different and put our seams against the grain, or we do this. And if the majority of your city is laid out on this correct axis, which is basically north and south, so this should be aligned perfectly, straight north, straight south, straight east, straight west. Whenever you keep this grid, it's going to be okay. And then even if you break it, it still doesn't look too bad, but you don't have the very off moments where everything in your entire city looks like it's off by 30 degrees. Even though my streets are lined up, my surface painter won't be. And sure, I can solve these crumbly bits here. But we've all run into a moment where we just can't solve the crumbly bits of Surface Painter. Instead of everything being so off, you can make it spot on. And that's today's quick tip. Thanks, past me. Now you understand why I drew that road way out there all random like. It's not really random, it's just me being particular. And because I used move it to move it, I totally wrecked the I wrecked the internal pathing of the docks, which, by the way, a lot of this stuff I think gets replaced. I know ultimately my goal is to come back and revisit these and do more detail and add more detail, maybe reconfigure some things. I'm just getting this to work at the moment as opposed to dealing with all of the details. I do plan, I think I discover I can't actually put them in here until I lower the water. Oh yeah, and I could not for the life of me get that. There we go. I was in underground mode. So if that ever happens to you, get out of underground mode. All these unnatural harbors. I think my next city, I'm going to make sure that there's a big rockin' bay going on. So I could just use the bay as more of a natural place for this as opposed to digging it out. But most harbors that you do see, I mean, they might have started with a natural bay, but these days we're dredging stuff, and you would think we wouldn't be dredging stuff with sea rise, but we're dredging stuff, we're digging things out, we're moving land where we want it, making sure the land is secure and stable. We're building islands to house airports because, well, you can't build them anywhere else. I didn't think that an island airport would be the best solution here. I think it should be inland because it would help tell the story. The area that we're building in is known as Piedmont. It doesn't exist yet, but in lore, the town exists and the harbor was built. There was like someone dug in this little harbor, not ancient times, not like by ancient times I mean like 100+ years. It's probably about 100 years old, the early version of the harbor where they just kind of made sure that you could get a boat in and be a little bit safe from the open waters, but not the current intermodal harbor. And then we're going to start on the power plant because where else would you put it? Right next to the harbor. Makes sense, right? I might end up putting some houses up on that hill. I might. People do live near power plants. It's a known fact. I don't know if I would want to. I don't know if they want to, but people do live near a power plant. I live near transmission lines. My toaster occasionally talks to me. Occasionally. That's not true. I've not heard my toaster sing from the power lines. They're maybe 250 yards away from me. I'm not directly underneath, but I do see them. And yes, I will include some high, actual transmission lines. And I found this great little building. I know it goes with the pier set, but I think it looks like a kind of like an entry level or an entry building for this this power plant, and I'm shopping, air quotes, for the office buildings that would accompany this power plant, where they have people monitoring things. You've got some of your billing going on. You've got some of your management going on. What I didn't do, which reminds me for future self, is to build in some of the vehicle and equipment storage. But again, I just need the power plant to work, and this is just earmarking the space. Earmarking, something you don't hear much anymore. Wow. And I use the parking lot. I think this is big parking lots, and then I decided later that I'm not going to use it, and I took it out. I know that might be parking lot roads, which I still don't use. Totally irrelevant. I just make my own. I like those assets, but I can't stand having my cars float too much. I mean, they already float enough when you move things with Move It. And then my parked cars will float, so then I'll just use Traffic Manager to despawn parked cars and then let it play and then capture any cinematics I've got. But I needed power, and usually I would just throw power off in the middle of nowhere. But I figured might as well have it here, and then I'll style it up. I also thought about tossing in some Planet Zoo and Planet Coaster in on the channel, because I've been itching to play those too, but man, I don't know if we're gonna have a content overload or what. Streaming on Twitch might not happen for a while. I don't know. Maybe it'll happen. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how I feel in about another month. We'll see how I feel about a few episodes in. Maybe it will. Maybe a stream will happen on a Monday when a video releases. Here I am. I built all of this stuff, and now I am turning stuff back on. Or actually, I think I turned that off because I don't think I have the sewer ran yet. This is me trying to figure out where the rail line is going to end. And it's going to end right there. And this all ends up looking different anyway, and it will end up looking different. It's just the way it is. Cities change. But I want to control the flow of traffic, so I'm moving traffic where there's the best output and pushing traffic and bringing traffic in. I used a toll booth. I don't know if we get to it, but I did use a toll booth to kind of be the check-in point for trucks coming into the harbor. But I want to direct the flow of traffic through the harbor and then back to the cargo part of the airport, which in the next episode we construct an early version of the airport. I mean, it functions. I've got planes landing. And I'm going to leave you with some short cinematics and see you in the next episode.